What's up, guys? This is Charles from Abysmal Dawn, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 201 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Charles Elliott from Abysmal Dawn. How you doing today, man? Great to be able to talk with you.
Good, man. Glad to finally be here.
Here, hell yeah. It's awesome to have you here. So, kind of the format is I want to talk about like your musical history and pretty much do a rundown of your discography. So, take me back to young Charles Elliott. So, kind of growing up, what were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to be a vocalist and guitarist?
I don't know. I think I started with more like grunge, honestly. Like Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and Nirvana and stuff like that, and then sort of graduated to like Metallica and Testament and Machine Head, Fear Factory, and then it kind of went to like Entombed, Cannibal Corpse, Death, um, Suffocation, Nile, At the Gates, like all the Carcass, all that stuff.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, you were saying.
that was kind of my trajectory there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Say, yeah, that's awesome because, I love a lot of those grunge bands like Alice in Chains. It probably is my opinion is like my favorite grunge band out of the whole genre. They're kind of like more heavier than pretty much like Pearl Jam or Nirvana or
Yeah,
Soundgarden because I know they're influenced like Black Sabbath and stuff.
yeah, absolutely. They were definitely heavier, and I think I remember even watching like a documentary or something, talking about whether maybe it was like one of those Sam Dunn documentaries, right? Like about
Like Metal the
time
Headbanger's Journey,
metal.
or,
Yeah, something like that. It
or was
might,
it Metal Evolution?
yeah, and I'm not sure, but I just remember them talking about like how, out of all the grunge bands, they were probably the most metal, and um they kind of started. If you listen to those early demos that are like songs that are on like their box set, I think they're very out, not out, sorry, very Guns N' Roses like style, I guess, and then got heavier and heavier. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember when there was like that tour they did with Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax, and actually they were like opening up for them as like the Clash of the Titans tour in 1990. And from what I
Yeah.
heard, they've gotten like a lot of backlash and shit. But they were like pros about it. They were like, "Fuck the haters, we're gonna do what we do."
And I think they did that tour because Death Angel couldn't do it, right? Like they got in the bus accident or something like right before it,
Oh shit.
and then they filled in like last minute. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think I remember. uh I didn't actually go to it, but I think I remember hearing that would like the Lane would get in fights with people and shit, like people talking shit, like
yeah,
on tour. But yeah,
yeah.
I
I
would have
mean,
tour. That would have been great.
yeah. I mean, I was non-existent when that tour happened, so I would had no idea about the Death Angel originally being on it. That's news to me.
Mhm.
Yeah. So kind of like talking about I guess your first band was Inhuman Visions. So like tell me about that because I don't think nobody's ever asked you about it.
Uh, let's see. I mean, that's kind of how Abysmal Dawn started in a way, because I mean that was the a band I joined in high school. The guys were like a little bit older than me. They had just graduated when I was still in high school. Um, and it was kind of like a death thrash band. And yeah, from there we did like a lot of cool shows, I guess. Like when I was in that band, we played with Death at the Whiskey, that live at the Whiskey show. We played there, and I met a lot of people that are like still in my life to this day, like bands that played there were Prototype, and my friend Mike went on to play bass on our first album and help produce some of our records. And Kragan from Prototype too. We've been friends on and off like that whole time too. Um, but yeah, and we did like, I guess, Emperor's first U.S. tour at the time too. I remember did like a
Wow.
battle of bands for that. That was cool. That was a terrible show though. I remember fucking my amp blew up like right before we were supposed to play, and I like plugged in direct to the board with like a fucking Boss heavy metal pedal, or Boss Metal Zone pedal.
Oh my God.
Sound like complete fucking dog shit. But I don't know. Yeah, I remember we played a lot of cool shows back in the day. Like I did one with like Manowar even and 6 Feet Under. I think they toured together, and um I don't know. It's a lot of like pay to play shit at the time, but you know, uh got my feet wet doing that, and yeah, I guess after that I left the band to join this band called Rise. They're like a more of a symphonic black and death metal band,
Yeah.
and that I quickly realized wasn't entirely my thing, and I left that band and then tried to start Inhuman Visions again. Um, but that quickly kind of fell apart. So like some of the guitarist that the last remaining guitar player that we had in Inhuman Visions, um, I went on to start Abysmal Dawn with, and one of his friends, Terry, who was like an Inhuman Visions fan. So that was the original lineup, the three of us.
Yeah, and because of Abysmal Dawn formed in 2003, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so this year does, of course, mark 20 years of Abysmal Dawn as a band. Just think about it. 20 years of years. Like, did you think that you all be around for 20 years?
Fuck, I couldn't see my life past 30 when I was a kid, you know what I mean? And now I'm still fucking kicking and playing metal. But yeah, man, it's been crazy. It's kind of crazy. I was thinking about like I don't know. I was going through lists of just right before this, kind of like of best albums of like certain years, like on just a Google search or whatever, best metal albums, and like going through and like fuck, that was like 2009, dude. That feels like yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember 2009. I was like a freshman in high school. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but tell me about like that first demo that you did in 2004, which has Blackened the Sky, Solitude's Demised, and State of Mind. I just like that little demo. Was that like something to like send out to labels to eventually get signed?
Yeah, I don't remember if I, maybe we sent it a few places. I don't remember. I think it was mainly just so we'd have something to sell at shows and stuff like that. But we did it in our guitar player's garage. Jamie Bollinger's original second guitarist. We used to rehearse at his place or his parents' house, and uh Sasha from Intronaut actually recorded us for that. I think he had like a old fucking digital mixer or something, like a digital recorder. And we paid him in like fucking coffee and weed, and we got what we paid for.
Yeah. But then you started playing locally around LA, and then I believe you got signed. I believe your first label was Crash Music Inc. So how did they find Abysmal Dawn?
I'm pretty sure through MySpace. I think we got signed through MySpace back in that around that time.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, and I don't remember. I think we did the record ourselves, and they must have hit us up like maybe like right before. That's yeah. I'm a little unclear. I don't exactly remember how that came about, but I'm pretty sure it's through MySpace that they got our attention, and maybe we sent them the record and to check out. And yeah, that
Yeah.
company was shady.
Yeah.
They like they fucking folded like changed their names like changed their name like three times or something like that because they
Oh
were
wow.
pavement music at some point, and I don't know, they just wouldn't pay bands and then declared bankruptcy and changed their name.
Yeah. Yeah,
So yeah,
that's fucking wild, man.
yeah.
Yeah. But tell me about making the first album from Ashes. So what was like the thought process going into making the debut Abysmal Dawn record?
Um, fuck, man. I think we still had the sort of death thrash roots and sort of more melodic death metal was kind of like the where I was coming from at the time. Um and yeah, I we recorded it. I remember we played a show, I think with like Exodus and 3 Inches of Blood or something at it used to be called the Galaxy in Santa Ana. And the next day, or we dropped off our kit at the studio that night right after we played, and then we started recording that album, and it was did everything, I think, mixed and mastered and everything, like recorded in like 10 days. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, we rehearsed a lot before it. I mean, it's still raw and kind of sloppy, but like uh for what it is, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, but I definitely love like the musicianship with like the harmonic like minor guitar or lead work, and especially like I think all the songs are great, especially like In the Hands of Death is a killer track after like the little instrumental Impending Doom, and even I love Black in the Sky is a very good heavy song, but also melodic. But I feel like every song sort of like is different from one another, but it still maintains that sort of like flow.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a short record if I remember correctly. I think it's a little over
Yeah, it's like 32
30
minutes,
minutes, maybe 32 minutes or
32
35, something like
minutes,
that. I don't.
32 minutes and 43 seconds.
So there you go. See.
Yeah.
So yeah, shit. I guess I still do remember some things. But yeah, man. It was cool. That was our first, and then we off that we got our first US tour, North American tour. Wait, was it? Did we go to Canada? No, we didn't go to Canada on that one. But first US tour with it was with 6 Feet Under, Crisian, and Decapitated. And I remember Cattle Decapitation was supposed to be on before us. So there was supposed to be one more band, but I think they dropped off right before. So we lucked out because they didn't. We had a, little bit higher slot, I guess, on the tour, and but yeah, it was a good run.
Yeah, yeah. Did you like play like the old Masquerade in Atlanta back in the day? Was that like your first time playing in Atlanta on that tour?
Uh, I don't remember where we played on that tour exactly, but we did play the old Masquerade a bunch over the years.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's still like one of my favorite venues in my town.
The old one or the
Yeah, well, both locations, but the old one mostly because I've been there a lot. And that was pretty much where I met like everybody and made a lot of friends there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, moving on to the next album, Programmed to Consumed. I love this album because usually with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write, and there was a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making Programmed to Consume, did you felt pressure to follow up From Ashes?
Um, yeah, I mean, it was a stylistic change for us, I feel like, because I think, like, I don't know, we were kind of doing the melodic death metal thing more so on From Ashes, I feel like. And I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, I don't remember why exactly. I mean, I guess bands like Black Dahlia Murder were probably doing it better, you know what I mean? And we kind of wanted to do something else, and it was a little more in the, not tech, it wasn't quite. I remember like a lot of reviews, people saying that we were just old school death metal, and like that got me really frustrated at the time because I thought like we were little bit more modern than that. But I don't know, there was flourishes of, I guess, some black metal in there, and but it was a little more on the death metal side, I feel like, or a little not quite tech death. But yeah.
Yeah, but I honestly think this is like you guys is more kind of like old school death metal sounding album.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if I'm entirely honest with you, that's my least favorite record that we've done. I
Really.
think there were some frustrations with the recording of it. I know the studio we went to at the time, we were the first band they had in the studio, and there was some things unfinished, I think, when we got there, and um I don't know, just we weren't entirely happy with that record, I think, with the mix and certain things that got left on the album as far as like performance wise. And um it's cool, like I think maybe some of those songs are still killer. I think You know, the title track is still good, and what we
Yeah,
played,
I
what was that
love
song?
that song.
Yeah, I mean that's still a killer song. Some of those songs, maybe if we re-recorded them, you know, would still fucking, I don't know, maybe be more popular. I don't know.
Yeah, I love like Twilight's Fallen, Grotesque Modern Art, and
Grotesque
even the
Modern, a killer track, I think. We brought that out a couple of years ago, play on tour, but we never played it. Oh, we had, I guess we hadn't played it live in a very, very long time, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite songs is like the instrumental A Omegas. I guess
And
I probably really butchered that. I think I love that song. So how did that song come to be?
the instrumental, that was Jamie wrote that one. And I think I just added keyboard tracks and some other like effects and shit, like a wind tracker or something. I don't remember, but that was that was all Jamie from what I remember. The instrumental, yeah.
Yeah. And I know this year does mark 15 years of this album. So like you said this, do you still like have some favorite songs from this album?
Uh, well, you mentioned what was it? Sorry, I totally just forgot the song we were talking about.
Like A Omegas?
No, the song before that I was saying that we brought out a couple times or
Yeah.
played.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it was
Grotesque
Twilight's
Modern,
Fault. And I have like the track list right here.
yeah, Grotesque Modern Art.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that was it. I somehow got like all bleh.
Walk the Path of Fire was a fun song we used to play. Honestly, there's some good songs in there. I don't know, man. Like I think maybe, like I said, maybe just sort of the production and uh I don't know. Well, for whatever reason, it didn't quite hit. I feel like the way it should have. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but did you wanted to like sort of like better yourselves with the next album, Leveling the Plane of Existence?
yeah. I think, like I was saying, when program came out, I think I don't know. Maybe it's our artwork or whatever it is. I feel like, um, people like I hold us up to like a this technical death metal standard, or they think we're a technical death metal band, which we have technical parts, but a lot of people were talking about how program was old school and like it's been done before, blah blah blah. You're not reinventing the wheel. So I think that really frustrated me at the time. So and I remember like you know after that album we parted ways with Jamie. He got in a fight with our drummer on stage at the record release party for the album, and then
Holy
that
shit.
was pretty much it. And then Terry, our original drummer, he left after that too because he was kind of like he tired of touring and wanted to focus on, I don't know, getting a real job or something. And we had a lot of it was rough. Like I toured the band pretty hard on not the best tours, I guess. Like I just was so determined just to get out there. That was when we first got signed to Relapse, and we pretty much took everything. We did, and we even did some DIY tours that weren't good, um, and then I guess we replaced Jamie with Ian Jakelis,
Yeah,
who's now an aborted,
yeah,
and
buddy of mine.
yeah, Ian, and then Ken Badeni was filling in for us
Yeah.
on some touring for that album too. And so
Wow.
that was like the last lineup. But then we did this tour, was with uh Abigail Williams, Goat Whore, Doth, and
Oh,
Successful Ride Apocalypse Across the Sky.
what a
And
lineup.
yeah, no one gave a shit though back then. like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like 2009. You know, a tour would do way better now, obviously, but like I think at the time no one really cared, and it was really long, man. Like I think we signed up for like a month tour, and then the booking agent at the time just kept adding dates and
Yeah.
adding dates, and it became like a 2 month long tour or something
And
like
the endless tour ever.
yeah, man, it was fucking ridiculous. And after that tour, like either bands either broke up or lost members. Um, two of my guys, they went. I mean, Ken was basically filling in at the time, and we weren't.
Yeah.
He wasn't necessarily a permanent member. Ian was, a full fledged member, but we hadn't recorded anything yet. But like both of them went on to join Abigail Williams. Like Goat Horror lost a bass player. Doth broke up. Now they're back now, obviously, but
Yeah.
broke up, and Successful Right Apocalypse Across the Sky like broke up too.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember after that, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. Like they had a really rough time with it, and trying to find members was uh didn't know how who was going to be in the band anymore, and so um we had auditioned Scott Fuller right before um Ken Bedeni, right? I think we auditioned them both at the same time. And I was kind of leaning towards Scott at the time. I guess he played a little more like Terry, I guess, or former drummer. And Ian was really good friends with Ken, so we ended up going with him. And then once those guys split, I spoke to Scott again. We had another audition, and yeah, he's just really stoked and into it, and uh wanting to be in the band. And he moved down from the Bay Area for a bit, and um I think we before that though, you'd come down and like, we'd write together, and uh yeah, we'd fuck off back up to the Bay Area, and eventually moved down for a little bit. um but yeah, I don't know, man. I just wanted that record. I just wanted revenge, I guess. Because
Yeah.
I think I was really fucking in a bad place at the time. I went through a bad breakup. I went through yeah, like half my band leaving, and just wanting, just determined to write a fucking good record and put something out that people would actually fucking care about and talk about, like, years later. And yeah, I think that was a turning point for us. I think that was the one where people were like, oh, paying attention to the band, and we got a lot better tours and stuff like that. And that was the first time I mean, Eric Rutan mixed it.
Yeah.
uh and yeah, we did a tour with Vital Remains too, and Origin, uh and sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
and Hate Eternal. So
Oh yeah.
we did a lot of cool tours on that record, man. I think Cannibal Corpse was the first time we toured with them, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think I love like your riff playing are really great and enjoyable and also technical as well, but also like it's also very diverse. There's like with the slower numbers like such as Perpetual Dormancy or even the Sleeper Awakens. I feel like they sort of break up the speed but flow well with sort of like the rest of the more technical tracks. And I feel like the Sleeper Awakens is especially a great way to end this album, sort of like wrap everything up perfectly.
Yeah, I wish we'd play that song live sometime. I think we might break it out at some point in the somewhat near future, but I don't know. Overall, I think it was just like I don't know. We ramped up the intensity a little more, the technicality a little more, and there's a lot of fucking catchy songs on there. I feel um, "In Service of Time" is one song that I feel like is stuck with a lot of people. Um, whether like, especially because of the lyrics, I guess. I feel like a lot of people identify or sing those lyrics back to me when we play. So I think we did some good stuff on that one.
Yeah. And kind of breaking off from Abysmal Dawn, because I know in 2012 you started up a little band called Bereft, and you did their album Leichennos in 2012. Tell me about like that. And I don't think
Legion
nobody's
now?
ever talks about that.
I mean, they did it at the time, but yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't done anything. I mean, that was with Sasha from Intronaut, Derek. who was the old singer of the Faceless, like on those on the first two albums. And then Derek, who was from National Sunday Law, was the drummer. Derek from the Faceless played bass, and I sang on it. And Sasha played guitar. Sasha did all the guitars on the record. I just played guitar live and sang. Um, but yeah, it, I don't know. It was a cool little Doom super group
Yeah.
that came together. Uh, Sasha and I lived together at some point. We even worked together at some point. And both loved Doom. And I remember he started putting together some demos. And at some point, he asked me if I still had the demos. And I told him like, yeah, fuck yeah, I do, but I want to be in the band, so I want to sing on it. So I came home. I remember sending the demos, and I came home from a tour, and fuck, like I came home from a tour, and I thought we were just gonna demo the songs, and then we ended up just fucking doing an album. Like I didn't even know. Like I was like, oh, okay, cool. Um, they had like a lot of lyrics written. I contributed some lyrics, but then I just did my own vocal patterns and stuff like that, and we just knocked it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still think that was a pretty good album. Is there like any plans to do any more stuff, or just nah?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Sasha's a really big busy guy. I think I know Derek drummer would love to do a record again. I'd love to do a Doom album. I don't know, like my Doom metal writing style is different from that, and I wasn't sure how it would incorporate when I was trying to write new stuff, like guitar, like actually for riffs and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe we'll do something someday. I kind of doubt it. I remember there was another band called Bereft that was signed to Prosthetic, and I remember you know, the guy at Prosthetic was Sasha's manager for Intronaut, and he asked him, "Was like, hey, can I sign this? You're not going to sue me, right?" And he's like, "No, we're probably not. We're not going to do anything anymore. So just sign the band." So yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe one day, but it doesn't seem like any time soon.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But kind of going back in the Abysmal Dawn, 20 next album is obsolete. Lesson, bleh, bleh. Can't even.
Obsolescence.
Yeah, that I can't even fucking say the name. I love this album. Tell me about making this album.
um, it took a long time. I don't know. I mean that record. I remember I demoed a lot of the shit like with a drum machine at home, which I didn't want to do. But Scott had moved back up north, um, to the Bay Area, Northern California Bay Area, and we got together like a handful of times, and then sometimes I'd take those ideas that we had and like demo them out, like you know just in entirety, because we had like scraps of stuff. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of like me writing by myself for the most part, which sucked. Like I didn't like doing that. But at the end of the day, I think that record came out really good. Um, I the tracking of it took a long time. The drums, not that long, but tracking the guitars and everything else, like I think I don't know. We just we we did it like what was it my friend like to say, like a 90s cell phone plan, like free nights and weekends, you know what I mean? Like it was done in like odd hours, and it I would have preferred. Ever since then I was like, I'm not doing that shit ever again. I'm doing it in like a big block, and then we're just getting it done, because I it just dragged out for way too long, the recording. um But yeah, I think it came out cool. We were initially supposed to have uh this guy from Fascination Street Studios mix the album, Alvinzi, I think his name was, and just took too long, and then he wasn't available anymore, and unless we wanted to push the record back further, so we ended up having John do it, and John did a fantastic job. um there was some things I like wasn't particularly happy with my vocals in some spots on that record personally. um I don't know, some of the reasons might be where we tracked it, some might be like where I blew out my voice, other times it's like uh I think, I don't know, there could have been mixed a little differently.
Yeah.
But that was just my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
People seem to enjoy it, but yeah.
Yeah. And next year will be the 10-year anniversary of this album. Is there a chance maybe we can get a celebration somehow? Maybe throw in some deep cuts.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we've performed most of the songs off that record.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's like 10 songs. I'm just trying to know which ones you played.
I mean, we played Human Obsolescence, Perfecting Slavery. Um, fuck. I mean, the ones that we haven't played are probably like Laborum, uh, Devouring the Essence of God, and 1% Incomplete. I think we played everything else.
So about 70% of the record.
Yeah.
Cool. And one of my favorite ones, I know the last song, Night's Blood, was actually a cover of a Dissection. So what made you guys decide to cover that song in particular?
Uh, fuck. I think we were just sitting in the studio from what I remember, and we were gonna be done early, and we're like, well, let's let's do a cover song, you know. Um, I it was between like Death and Dissection, and I don't know. I felt like I just did that first Death to Wall tour, you know, uh, right before that, and I felt like me covering a Death song. I was like, I don't know, felt weird. Felt like more exploiting that. I guess that felt cheap to do, so I didn't want to do it. And then I felt like doing like it was expected of us. I mean, we normally we did cover Death song later, but I think at the time I was like,
Yeah.
I felt like it was weird. I don't know. I just got it done with that first Death to Wall tour and felt a little weird doing that. And um and the Dissection song, I thought it was like something a little unexpected. And that album, Obsolescence, had us delving a little more into like some of our black metal influences, or so it seemed to fit the record pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it has that kind of like darker tone of the black metal. I feel like it's probably like the darkest Abysmal Dawn album to date.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still like it's a great album. And I think that was the first time I ever saw Abysmal Dawn because I remember seeing you all on the Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, and Cryptopsy tour. And that was
Yeah,
the first night of the tour was actually in Atlanta. So that was the first time I've ever saw Abysmal Dawn.
that's right. Yeah, that was. I remember because I think At the Gates played the night before. Uh, who else played that show?
Yeah, I
Because
sadly missed that show, and I kind of kicking myself for that.
yeah, we can't, because I remember we came into town to see we our driver did a bunch of drugs so we could make it to the that
Oh my God.
at the gate show the night before. That was
Yeah,
funny.
that's
Uh,
wild. Oh, but then again, I've seen At the Gates like 3 times. I think I last saw them about a year ago at Psycho Las Vegas. They played the Slaughter of the Soul album in its entirety. That was probably the best At the Gates show I've seen yet.
cool. Yeah, man.
Oh yeah. And then moving on to the next album, Phylogenesis, one of my favorite albums from 2020, and I'm always just curious, like why it's sort of like the 6 year gap between Obsolescence to Phylogenesis.
Fuck, man. I mean, I think everyone everyone had personal problems, like between, like 2016 or so, moving on, 2017 or so, I don't know, moving on. So that was basically it. Everyone had like a lot of personal shit going on in their lives, and then it just held the band back. I had to dig myself out of the hole, I feel like, at that time in my life. And yeah, that was basically it. Because and like it took we recorded drums, like I don't remember, like fucking way, way before everything. Well, the lyrics I think took a long time. They always do. They take longer and longer, so that's another part of it too. But mainly I feel like it was just people being in bad places, I guess.
Yeah.
Mainly myself.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, you actually recorded the album in your own studio. So what is sort of like the positives and negatives to recording and producing an album in your own studio?
Well, the negative is like everyone thinks you have fucking endless time. So, I'll be like, yo, show up at like fucking 10 o'clock, and people show up at like noon. You know what I mean? And so like they take it, I think that it's a little looser, I feel like, but and yeah, you can take forever on something if you want to, and when you're on a fucking budget and timeline, you tend to like make choices a lot quicker, I feel like, and move on with it. But I mean, that was also something that was learning curve for me. The more records I do, and with my own band and with other people's stuff,
Yeah.
I become more streamlined with working and all that.
Yeah. And one of my favorite songs is a Soul Sick Nation, and you had a guest solo appearance from Frederick from Unleashed. So how did he end up guesting on that song in particular?
We played South America with Unleashed, uh, and we just hit it off. And he's a fucking amazing guitar player, and that was basically it. I was just like, man, he'd be sick to be have on the record. Um, yeah, he did a killer job.
Hell yeah, it's like one of my favorite songs from Phylogenesis. And I also like the cover of Death's Flattening of Emotions. So
Well,
how did that
to say one more
song
thing about,
cover come to be?
I was gonna say that one more thing about that solo. It's funny because like Unleashed, uh, he recorded. We were in like A flat or something like that, and he recorded his solo in like D standard, and
Whoa.
or A sharp, I guess we're in. Yeah. Um, and yeah, so to like live, it's a little weird, like having to recreate that those guitar solos, because it's in a basically recorded on a different fucking tuning. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have just ended up in like a freaking bloodbath.
But anyway, sorry, you were saying it was, the death songs. You said something.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, yeah, what pretty much led you to cover that song in particular, and how did you approach it?
Just Human is my favorite death album. I feel like Human and Symbolic are my two favorites. I mean, I love all death stuff, but those were probably the ones I listened to the most. And but Human's the most brutal, I guess. And I don't know. We wanted to record a death song. I think, uh, going back to Obsolescence, when we were talking about recording a death song, I think Scott wanted to do something like off of like Leprosy, and I wanted to do something like with the more technical drumming, I guess. And I felt like uh James pulls that off. He's a little more of a like jazz influenced drummer rather than just a straight, death metal drummer. So he was up to the challenge, I guess, of doing something off Human. And yeah, that was basically it, man. It's one my favorite record, and by them, and it was cool to, I don't know, be able to pull that off. I think with the musicians that I had in the band,
Yeah, and yeah, it was also so Phylogenesis is your first album with the Season of Mist. So how did you come to sign with them?
Uh, well, we were at the end of our deal with Relapse, and I don't know, it just seemed like the time to leave, I guess. I mean, they were decent to us, I think we're still cool with them whenever we have interactions and stuff, but um Gordon Conrad was our A&R at Relapse, and he left for Season of Mist at some point. And when our time was up, we talked to him a little about it and like a few other places, and we were comfortable with him and what Season of Mist had to offer, and yeah, and we were really happy with it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course like the album was released during the whole pandemic with that certain virus that I refuse to name, which pretty much put a damper on the whole touring and everything. How did that sort of like affect the Abysmal Dawn in terms of like the promotion and stuff during that time?
I mean, it totally fucked us, pretty much. Like um, you know, we're one of those bands that hits the ground running and tours hard when we have an album coming out, and we're not like the best social media people. We're not, I don't know, like having like a bunch of other ways to get our name out there, I guess. Like we've always been like a pretty grassroots. I mean, to our detriment, I'm sure. Like like we probably should be better at like doing the whole social media thing and all that stuff. But uh, we had our record came out like a week or two after we got home from our tour with Vader, um, Hideous Divinity, and Vitriol. And yeah, and then we actually had a record release party planned in New York City, uh, and we had to cancel that, I guess, like basically right as soon as we got home. Um, but yeah, we hadn't put out a record in a long time. We There was a lot of hype around the album. I felt like a lot of probably the best reviews we ever got, like some magazine covers, and I don't know. It was felt like things were going like this, and then after being dormant for a while, and then it was like, nope, stay home. You know, the world
Yeah.
world saying fuck you right now. So
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. But then I know that same year you also did a flexi disc release. You did the cover of Candlemass's Bewitched, which was
yeah.
just how did that little thing come to be?
Uh, fuck, I don't know. I mean, they were doing a cover, so we wanted to offer them like a bonus track. We had recorded the music for that song during the Phylogenesis sessions, and yeah, that was basically it. And then we're like, all right, well, let's do this. Let's do this for him. So
Yeah.
it worked out. Yeah. And I think we just, want to do something different, like one show, like, I don't know, surprise people, not do the, like, people expect us to cover death or something like that. But Candlemass would be like, who the fuck? Like people don't realize that's a band we listen to or something.
Yeah. And I know that actually ended up now on the latest EP, Nightmare Frontier, which is definitely one of my favorite releases from last year. So how did that EP come to be?
Um, well, we were gonna do a tour with Obscura, and we've won. Since we kind of got fucked over with the whole touring for Phylogenesis, we're like, we need to put out something new to like remind people, again. I think now that we can tour again, but just something fresh. And yeah, that was the idea. Basically, we had uh not an incomplete version of was it A Nightmare Slain, We just recorded all the music during the phylogenesis sessions, and so I wrote lyrics and all that, and then we re-recorded Black in the Sky
Yeah.
and did some covers, like we did that In Flames cover.
Which is a badass cover, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I also love the new version of Black in the Sky. So what made you decide to like re-record like a song that you've done years prior?
We just want content, I think, from the for the EP, and I don't know, there's good songs on those records, but they're just so raw, man. Like, I think we were doing things on a shoestring budget, and um I mean, we still are, but like, but we have, I don't know, like more recording experience, and I have my own studio, so we can make budgets like go a little bit further these days. Um, but that was basically it. I think James picked the song, but it's just whatever song you want to re-record, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was one mix.
Yeah, and being as it now has been 3 years since Phylogenesis, what's the status with the next Abysmal Dawn full-length album? What's like the status with it?
Um, honestly, we have like one song was written so far, and now it's time to start writing like more actively. I mean, we have a bunch of ideas, a bunch of riffs and jams and stuff that we've done. We just need to put it all together and just focus on what we want to do exactly with it. But uh, that's where we're at right now.
Right. And one thing I want to talk about is like your writing, because one thing I noticed, like I love the lyrics, which talk mostly about like occult, lost, science fiction, and social commentary. So when it comes to making lyrics, does it come from like a personal experience, or do you try to put yourself in that mind frame to get that creative flow going?
Um, I think you just read her Metal Archives fucking
Well, you're not wrong there.
and I'm always like, it's not really accurate. I mean, it's more like social commentary, I feel like I mean, that was one of them, but like the occult, we don't really sing about the occult. Um, it's mostly social commentary. There's a bit of sci-fi in there, but that which usually falls under social commentary, I feel. Um, but yeah, what to give me the mental space for it though? Uh, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm a fucked up person. That's basically it. Like, I have like fucking dark thoughts, and I've tried to like be better about it because I feel like that's kind of like something that like takes a lot out of me, especially as I get older. And I feel like in like the last record wasn't in a good spot, and then I'm trying to write lyrics for the songs, and I don't know, it just you felt like this is draining. It's draining. Like you kind of put yourself in that. That's how I write, and I feel like I put myself in that headspace a lot too. And like when you're already not in a good headspace, it's not the best. So I don't know. Try to like I guess get in that space, but then distance myself from it a little bit. I think that's partly, honestly, like when we did a Nightmare Slain, and made it about like Bloodborne, is because I was just didn't want to fucking destroy myself mentally anymore.
Yeah.
you know, like find something else to write about rather than the depression shit that I really would always write about.
Yeah.
Um, so or come at it from a different perspective or something. I don't know. It's uh it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to write stuff like that.
Yeah. And as also as a guitarist, because I love how you're also very technical with your guitar playing. Like, do you know like music theory? Do you know like, okay, what scales that I'm playing on?
Yeah, I mean, I know a good amount of music theory, but I mean, I'm not like totally proficient. Like I can sight read really slow. Um, I don't know every name of every scale, but I went to MI for a little bit, and I took music lessons, as a kid, and so tell you like if it's in key basically, and how to have a harmony for it, or I know time signatures and stuff like that, and rhythmic values. But yeah.
Yeah. And being as you also sing and play guitar, when it comes to like the writing of the songs, do you ever try to like jam it out, be like, okay, this is where my vocals are, where I'm at per fret? I'm just curious, like how you managed to like this do vocals and guitar at the same time.
I don't fucking know. Like some of these songs too. Well, usually we'll write the music, record it, and then I'll be like, all right, now I need to fucking write lyrics. So now I write the lyrics, and then whenever it's time to like go out and tour, because usually, last album we never actually played any of these songs to completion, you know, prior to us recording them, Um it's like we write the music, and then like maybe we'll, James knows his parts, and then like we get better at our other other parts later in the studio or before we need to record. But lyrics aren't on top of it yet, so it's when we go on to fucking tour, it's like when I'm like, ah, fuck, I gotta sing and play this. Like, this is fucking hard. What the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
There's certain songs where I'm like, fuck, that's rough.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but what is like the like for you like the hardest song to have played live?
Uh, Fuck, the hardest songs to like sing and play, though, I think we're like Soul Sick, and then Coerced Evolution. I think there's some tricky parts in those. Because there's some pretty fast lyrics, I guess, and weird phrasings and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. But we have a good amount of tough songs to play. What's the fuck? I forget the second song. You have the track list with the second song on there on the
Yeah,
album.
yeah, from the new album or
Well, actually, there's a lot of songs on that album that are or take some doing, you know, because Mundane Existence is uh pretty tech one, and then the Path of the Totalitarian. So they're all they're all hard.
yeah. Yeah, but it's yeah, you gotta keep your chops up, man.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And so kind of the final question I wanted to ask you is kind of like talking about like your rig. I'm always curious, like when it comes to like recording and playing live, what kind of guitars that you use and like strings, pedals, amps, and all that good stuff.
Well, live, I'm using a Kemper, right? And then I've profiled my amps that I have at home. I have a dual rectifier and a Mark IV. Um, and then I have some other stuff too, like 5150 and 5150 and a Marshall valve state. Um, I guess the let's see, From Ashes. Let's see, From Ashes, Program to Consume. Those are my Mark IV. And I think Jamie actually, my rhythm guitars are a Mark IV, and then Jamie on the first album, I can't remember what he had. He had like a DC-10 or something. It was another Mesa amp with like I think a 50/50 power amp. And then on Program to Consume, he was using like a Randall something on the other side. Um, and then on Leveling the Plane of Existence, it is uh, a dual rectifier, and I think I put a metal zone in front of it. Just for like, yeah, I don't know. With the gain of the amp, though, I think I like used it more like a tube screamer or something. And then on Obsolescence, that's all my Mark IV, all Mark IV. And then on the last album, on Phylogenesis, I used the fuck did I use? I think I used Money used a 5150 with a diesel preamp pedal. So I just used the power section of the 5150 from what I remember. And then on the EP, it's uh the Mesa triple rectifier. But yeah.
Awesome. So thank you, Charles, for this interview. It was great to be able to talk with you and learn your history. Is there just anything else you'd like to plug in terms of like new tours and anything, if you're allowed to say?
No, nothing right now. Just, thank you for all your support through the years. And to everyone, like I hope we continue to make records and people keep continuing to show up because, couldn't do it without you guys. And fucking 20 years is a long time, man.
Yeah, you've come a long way, dude. So everybody, Charles Elliott from Abysmal Dawn. We'll see you next time.